Is this thing on?
I'm sure I plugged it in. Is that plugged in over there?
Andy, is this thing on?
Checking. 1, 2.
Is this thing on?
Check. I have phantom power. Oh, yeah.
Welcome to Chicks with Gear, the podcast, where 3 lifelong friends get together to drink some coffee, play some music, talk about gear, and our quest for the most perfect acoustic sound on stage. I'm Deb.
I'm Julie.
I'm Andy.
Who's not a chick. No, he's not. He's our resident gearhead, the fabulous Andy Most. Andy!
Julie?
Looks like we have a guest in the house.
That's right, Julie. Welcome to the studio. The fantastic John Cowan.
Woo-hoo! John, we are so excited to have you here today.
As am I.
Well, welcome. I have to ask you this. So, you've been around and huge superstar here in town. And so with that comes a lot of urban legend. Mm-hmm. So I have to ask you about Bill Monroe. So we always heard that Bill would come behind you and unplug all your amplifiers. Is that true?
No.
Oh!
No, but
dang it.
The story that's related to this whole thing is that I might have been the year before I joined the band, but they were playing a Bluegrass festival in Reidsville, North Carolina. And Bill Monroe's banjo player took sick that day. So one of the guys in Bill's band said, "Bill, you should get Courtney Johnson to play. He's really good." And he was like, "Okay, we'll have him meet me here backstage at 4:45. I guess the show is at 5. So Courtney went over there and he was really nervous. And he said to Bill, he said, "Mr. Bill, I just want you to know I'm a lifelong fan. I love your music. It's so great. And I understand you need some help today on the banjo." And Monroe said, "Yes. What do you call that music of yours?" And Courtney said, "Newgrass, sir." And Bill Monroe said, "Oh, yes, I hate that." That's not urban myth. That's the truth.
That is the truth.
I'm sure that's where all that came from.
But we ended up becoming friends.
I am sure.
It was fine.
Oh, yeah.
Well, before we get started, as I have aged through the years, I have had trouble focusing sometime, and I discovered something called Magic Mind. And you don't have to do this with us if you don't want to.
I'm doing it.
But
Right,
excellent. So we're going to do some Magic Mind. It has some lion's mane mushrooms, adaptogens.
Because I was the guy at the party who was like, "Sure, give it to me." I'll take it.
Why not?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, boy.
And it's got some matcha in it as well. Yeah. So let the flow state begin.
Oh, yeah.
So the Newgrass Revival,
Yes.
truly something that changed the world of bluegrass. Would you say that?
And really, all music for country, and I mean,
Well, it's kind of sweet that there is now a subgenre of music called Newgrass.
Yes.
Now it wasn't just us. In fact, the name of the band that they named the band the Newgrass Revival because they were carrying on the inventive tradition in bluegrass of applying other genres of music to be played on those instruments. I mean, there's other people before that had been exploring that. The Country Gentlemen did Bob Dylan songs, and the Osborne Brothers. There are a lot of the Dillards. There's other examples of people that were doing that. So the idea was we're going to carry on the tradition of messing everything up. We're going to carry on the tradition of having our own expression in this genre of music. So yes, I think that it's fair to give us credit for that.
I think so too.
Absolutely.
And I remember seeing you maybe in 97 at 3rd and Lindsley, thinking I was going to see Newgrass Revival. And when I got in there, I was blown away because the amount of different kinds of music you all did that night, but you did soul music, you did rock, you did blues. It was amazing. Your voice is such an incredible instrument.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, it really, in my opinion, I was blown away.
I think you wandered into a show called Grooveyard.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
We had 3 horn players. It was basically a band of, and these guys are still like huge session people, etc. So it was Greg Morrow on the drums, Pat Buchanan on guitar, Mike Brignadello on the bass, Reese Winans on the keyboards, Jim Hoke on sax, Dennis Taylor on sax, and I'm going to forget the trumpet player's name. I'm so embarrassed. But anyways, that whole band was just an excursion of let's all play the music that we love and grew up on.
Oh.
So that was what the menu called for. So it was just our having a chance to play these songs that we always loved and maybe never had a chance to play them before that.
It was awesome.
That's an amazing band.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you've been in a lot of different bands. You've created this may be not a great question to ask you, but is there one that you think of back in a way like that was the one that really changed my life, or that's the one
that would definitely be Newgrass Revival, because I wandered into a band that already, and now granted this is 1974, so people that made records were like, if you could actually make a record for a record label, that was like, was it. You'd made it. Whether you sold any or not, that wasn't the point. So I wandered by accident into this band. I had grown up playing in Louisville, Kentucky, playing R&B and cover songs and rock and roll and blah, 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 blah. I'd never played bluegrass. I didn't know anything about it. Wow. So I find myself in this band with these guys. And it was just, the next 15 plus years were just like nirvana for me.
Wow.
Because I was in a band that made records, even though they were little independent records. And we traveled all the country in station wagons and vans and slept on people's floors.
I love that.
And one by one, by the time the band had disbanded in 1989, 1990, we had created our own audience.
Wow.
Just, one show at a time. So that, for me, and it still kind of defines who I am. I think, I've been in the Doobie Brothers for 15 years, but most people that know me still go like, you were in Newgrass Revival. I said,
Yeah.
thank God I was, yes.
Yeah.
Now, was it just sort of came together, or was it y'all sat down and met each other and said, let's make this band? How did it start?
Well, they'd already, Courtney Johnson, banjo player, Curtis Birch, the guitar player, dobro player, and Sam Bush, fiddle and mandolin and vocalist. They already had the band going. I think the band had started, I want to say, in 72.
Oh, wow.
They had one record?
Had one record out.
Record.
And I joined in 74. We had a mutual friend, and I was living in Louisville at the time, working at a car wash, playing in a covers band. And I got a phone call from this friend of mine. He said, this guy's going to call you. His name's Sam Bush. And I go, oh, I know who that is. And they're like, how do you know him? I said, well, honestly, I sold him a quarter pound of marijuana. That was our first meeting.
There we go.
Yeah, that was our first meeting. And then the second meeting was me driving down to Western Kentucky and auditioning for the band. And they offered me the job within 90 minutes of playing with them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just hearing your voice. I mean,
I didn't really sing for them. That took a while.
Really?
They just hired me because I could actually play the bass.
yeah.
And I kept going, hey, guys, can I sing one? And Sam would be like, no, I'm the singer now. You're playing really great over there. Just stick with that. And then finally one day, Sam and I had a repertoire, unbeknownst to both of us. We both loved a lot of the same artists. And we were practicing one day, and I said, do you know that song that's on Greg Allman's new solo album by Jackson Browne called These Days? And he goes, yeah, I think I do. So could I sing it? And they said, yeah. So I sang this song, and at the end of the song, I looked around, and they were all like,
Damn. That boy can sing.
Yeah.
Well, to piggyback off that, if you could pick, hard to do, like choosing your favorite kid, not that I have any, but if there was one Newgrass revival album that you were going to turn somebody on to listen, is there one or two, top couple?
There's probably two, because
Yeah.
there was two versions of the band. In 1980, Pat Flynn on guitar and
Right.
vocals and songwriting joined, and then Bela Fleck joined. At the same
That's
time.
the band that I'm
So,
familiar
yeah.
with.
Yeah.
My favorite record that band made is called On the Boulevard, because it was just the four of us playing. We didn't, on a lot of our other records, we kind of had this idea that if we add drums and stuff, maybe somebody will play it.
Right.
But that record is just the four of us. And maybe my favorite record of the early band was called When the Storm Is Over. That's a really good record.
Now, what was it like playing with Bela?
It was unbelievable, really. I mean, and Pat and Sam was the same. It was just kind of like, you never know what, if it's serendipity, I don't know.
Yeah.
What, when the chemistry happens between kindred souls playing music together, it just happened
Yeah.
with those
Yeah.
guys. Yeah.
Now, that band was together a long time.
The first I joined in 74, and that band with Courtney and Curtis and Sam and I lasted till 1980.
Wow.
In 78, we became Leon Russell's band.
Oh,
So it was called Rhythm and Bluegrass, and Newgrass, and this was the first original four, Sam, Courtney, Curtis, and myself. We would go out and play for about 40 minutes, and then we'd take a break, and then we'd come back and play for about 90 more minutes as his band.
oh.
And the band was augmented initially with two African percussion players, plus the four of us. So by about 1980, and we were just playing, I don't know how many shows a year we were playing. It's got to be 200.
Wowza.
Because Leon just wanted to go out and work. And we were like, okay. Because he was our idol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember working, my only real job I ever had was working in a boat trailer factory. And he was there was a couple artists that I just loved to death. One was Leon Russell, and then the band Little Feat and the Allman Brothers. But anyway, so I would sing his songs. They'd be going through my head daily at work, because that's what you do when you work a job like that. Your mind kind of drifts, right? And then 3 years later, I'm standing on stage with the guy. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
What happened? So that led us to 80, and we worked so hard that two of the guys in the band decided I'm not gonna kill myself playing somebody else's music, which is Curtis and Courtney. So at that time, we'd already met Pat Flynn at Telluride Bluegrass Festival, and we already knew about Bela. He was the new young gun in bluegrass music on banjo. So that's when they came in the band in 1980.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So do you still see all those people?
Not as much as I'd like to.
Are they local?
Bela still lives here. Sam still lives here. Pat still lives here. Curtis lives up in Kentucky, and Courtney passed away in 1999.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, you're all so busy. It's probably hard to get together. They're all traveling.
Well, it's kind of like our hemispheres are now in different orbits, especially since I joined the Doobie Brothers, because I don't get to play bluegrass festivals all summer because we're out touring all over the world.
So what was that like when you got the call to do that? Or how did it happen?
That's another long story if you're interested.
Very
Yes.
You may
interested.
not be, but
Oh, no, we're
yeah.
interested.
all right. So in 1991, Josh Leo was the head of artist and repertoire A&R at RCA Records. He was a friend of all of ours. He'd called me. Josh was a big producer in Nashville, and he'd called me to sing on some records, so we knew each other a little bit. Well, Josh and Bill Lloyd, who was from Foster and Lloyd, after Foster and Lloyd broke up, they decided the Traveling Wilburys were very popular.
Oh yeah.
So they had this idea. They said, what if we get a bunch of seasoned, super talented guys and do what the Traveling Wilburys are doing in the country format? So the band initially was Rusty Young from Poco, Patrick Simmons from the Doobie Brothers, Bill Lloyd, and they had asked Randy Meisner from the Eagles to be the bass player. He initially said yes, and then came back and said, "No, I don't want to start a band and go on the road and all that stuff." So Bill called me and asked if I was interested. Bill Lloyd.
Oh, wow.
I said absolutely. So that's how I met Patrick Simmons. So we started this band, which initially was called Four Wheel Drive, and then we had to change the name to the Sky Kings. We had 2 records, one on RCA and one on Warner's, that neither did anything. We ended up getting dropped by both labels. But in the interim, the Doobies got reactivated. Doobie Brothers historically have been huge supporters of the Vietnam Veterans Foundation.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So, and they've done so many benefit concerts. I don't know how many hundreds or millions of dollars they've helped raise for the Vietnam vets. They got a call if they wanted to ask if they would consider reuniting for a benefit. That's my recollection of this event. They didn't have a bass player at the time, and Patrick Simmons asked me, "Do you want to go and play this show with the Doobies?" I was like, when are we leaving?
I'm packed. Let's go.
Because I had been a fan of all the Michael McDonald years, and the first. I remember buying Toulouse Street, the record, and back in those days when we'd buy records, most of us would light up and listen and just stare at the covers.
I played China Grove in my 10th grade Battle of the Bands.
So, the way musicians devoured records in those days is that we found out who wrote the songs, who engineered the record, who produced the record, who played what on what track, all that stuff that probably doesn't mean much to other people.
It's the good stuff.
It is the good stuff.
Yeah, now it's kind of non-existent.
I miss
Even
the
with
records.
CDs, even with CDs, you had to get magnifying glass. And now with streaming, it's kind of a lost art, I think.
Well, we would spend hours in the music store. Surfing. We'd go right to the 45s because that was the singles. We'd look at those first and figure out which song we want to learn. And then we'd go look at all the records. We would do that all the time.
Every Saturday.
We should do this. What was the first single, first 45 everybody bought? What was yours?
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to remember what the first one was.
I remember Julie's. You had, because she played it so much, I broke it. We were little, but it was like a Crocodile Rock song or
Elton John.
Elton John.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wouldn't stop playing it.
I don't. It could be Beatles something, but I don't remember.
I was 10 when the Beatles came out, so I was already primed. I was
right.
I didn't know what I was ready for, but when they hit, that was it. That's all she wrote. I'm done. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my kids to listen to something other than, I don't even know what it is that they listen to. And my oldest son, I tried to let him listen to these Beatles songs. And what was the one the Octopus song? That was the one he liked. I was like,
Garden.
It's good, but I was like, okay, keep listening.
It never ceases to amaze me how generationally people always end up discovering the Beatles.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
In spite of culture.
Yes.
Which is kind of cool, really.
Yeah, because it was way after I had been like, hey, listen to this. And he came back, he goes, Mom, you want to see my playlist? And I was like, oh, well, all right. It's not some song that has lots of bleeps in it.
Well, and when we were growing up, there obviously wasn't streaming music. And we were very sheltered children, Julie and I, and our parents didn't let us really go buy music until we were much older. So we listened to what they liked, which was Emmylou Harris, Dolly Parton, Hank Williams. I mean, just
Merle Haggard,
Good for you.
Herb Albert, and the Tijuana
yes,
Brass.
that was a big
I
one.
love.
There's some pedigree for you. Really?
I know. I
Lucky
mean,
you.
And the Ray Conniff Singers,
Oh, yeah.
Dad's favorite. Not many people know who that is, but
No.
they did all these.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know who they were? Oh yeah, I swear that's how we learned to sing harmony.
Yeah.
And he then when he got the big stereo system that had the cassette player, you know what were those called?
Like the big consoles.
The
8-track.
The 8-track. Yeah, you put them in and listen to the music. But
Yeah, and he loved Patsy Cline.
oh my gosh, yeah,
Yeah.
and Loretta Lynn.
Yes,
Yep,
Yeah,
we
see,
Lynn
I-
Anderson, Tammy Wynette, and we were Yankees. That's crazy.
I was,
Where did you live then?
Massachusetts.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but he loved country music. He loved it.
That's so great.
Yeah, he was based in El Paso, Texas, on a missile site for a while, and so listened to a lot of music from Mexico too. So we had a lot of these Mexican, Spanish, like what do you call the Gypsy Kings? That music,
Not really Tejano, but it's kind
kind
of
of like that. We listened a lot
Mariachi.
of that when we were kids.
Yeah.
I was into like Led Zeppelin. And so I saw a cassette of Crosby, Stills, Nash sitting on the front porch on that couch. And I go, all right, here's some freaks. This is going to be like, and man,
And
was I surprised that it was not that. But the second day that I had it, I loved it, but the first day I was shocked. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Anyway.
Yeah. It's
So-
a good time to grow up, I think.
Oh, I know.
You know.
The music was so different in that it is today, but there's so much good music today too. You just have to. There's so much music that sometimes it's hard to find what you're looking for.
my experience in the modern age is just whether it's YouTube or Instagram or I don't do TikTok, but I am stunned by the level of musicality that's still there. That's coming down the pike from people 13 and up, really.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
And that's the thing. I don't think you can ever squash that ignition, that spark that happens in creativity. I hope.
I
do
don't
too.
think so because I think it's God given. I really do. I think God gives you the spark, whatever it is in your life, and I don't think you can take that away from people.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
So being guitar centric, which I shouldn't be as much, but the three of us, we recorded Wayfaring Stranger. And I was looking around online this morning, and I saw a version of you with Tony Rice doing that song. And that was amazing. And so.
It was amazing for me. I mean, Tony and I were great friends.
Right.
We met in the mid-'70s, but yeah. And that was all due to John Carter Cash.
Oh.
He and Tony were working on a record that never evolved, that never got past the starting gate pretty much. But that was one, they called me and said, hey, Cal, come out here and sing on Wayfaring Stranger. I'm like, but Tony's intro on that is so beautiful.
Yeah, it is. I was trying to cop some of it this morning. I hadn't heard it before. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
Such a haunting song. It's just a beautiful song.
That's one of those PD songs, I believe. I don't, if there's a writer, I don't know that I've ever seen it credited to anyone.
It never has been. There's a story that goes that it was written by a Civil War soldier for someone that was passing away in the field, but then that's been more of a myth. I don't think it's actually been proven. So there's no actual writer credited for that song. It's amazing.
It's amazing. It's been passed down that way for so long, and it's so beautiful and timeless, really.
I think that's the amazing thing about artistry and song and music is it will live on in spite of history, in spite of what's happening in the present tense.
Yeah.
And there's so many songs like that that we don't really know anymore who wrote them. There's a beautiful song. What's it called? Never mind, I'm having a mind fart. Do you have fart on there?
Magic mind has not kicked in yet.
Do we? Does that help?
That'll help.
That's
Thank you.
Andy's. You think about that for a second.
No,
it's
but
called-
there will
it's
be a
called-
fart on there next week. I guarantee you that. We'll have one.
It's called Rough and Rocky Road, and I remember having a discussion with Emmylou Harris about that, about who wrote it, because there is some. It's like so much of the Appalachian music goes back to the state of North Carolina and Georgia and Kentucky, and it evolved somehow from North Carolina. That's as close as I got to figuring out who wrote that song, which is we don't know.
So, are there any recordings of you and Emmylou singing? I bet your voices together would be amazing.
I've never officially sung on a record. We've traveled in the same circles for so long that Newgrass used to open for Emmy a lot.
Oh wow!
So I found myself on stage with her various times over the years, and I can't get used to it.
I know.
Like if I saw her in the next room, I'd be very nervous.
See, that's how we are too. We've stalked her.
long as I've
It's
known
not
her.
good.
I'd be like, oh,
That's how we are. There was Julie, me, and this record guy that when we had our
Johnny
record deal,
Rose.
he was like, "You're gonna meet her." We were at the exit in, and we all go backstage. And he's kind of a big deal at the time in the music industry. We figured he'd be cool. He was not
No.
cool. And he ran out to get a poster to get her to sign it. But she comes back in, and we're all like, "You're so pretty. Hi." And just stood like goobers.
right.
And she's trying to carry a conversation on with us. I'm like, bless her heart. She's like,
I'm sure she's used to that.
You think?
I would think so.
yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. But I would think you too. All right, Emmylou Harris, if you're watching this podcast, you and John should record something
yeah.
together.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had so many pinch me moments in my musical life that it's just ridiculous. I mean, so many people that I, like Leon, that's a good example, or just different people I've ended up singing with on record, etc. Just thinking, I used to listen to that guy's record, 24 hours a day when I was 22, whatever.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You and Emmylou, that's a no-brainer, man. I can't believe that has to happen.
I know.
Anyway,
You could be in the next trio because you sing higher than most girls I know.
Oh,
I've
so
sung along with you on some of your records to see if I can get above you.
You can do it.
Yes.
It's not that high for a girl.
I don't know.
For men, it takes special underwear.
yeah,
That's funny. I like that.
or a taller chair. So you have a new band.
I always have something I'm doing on the
Yes.
side.
I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Oh, the Herculeons.
That's it. All right.
Now that name came from Leon Russell's name, and also we had Andrea Zonn and I, who's an amazing fiddle player and vocalist, who has spent the last, I think, 19 years of her life being in James Taylor's band.
it's amazing.
I know.
But
That's a long
Andrea and I have
time.
been friends since she moved to town, which would have been in the 90s. And during the pandemic, we'd always threatened to do something musically together. And so during the pandemic, Andrea and I found some great bluegrass musicians, young guys, Seth Taylor on the guitar and Matt Menifee on the banjo and Ashby Frank on the mandolin. So we started this band and we did Facebook Live shows. And then that transitioned as time went by into us deciding to go not to have not have it be bluegrass.
Oh.
So we switched to kind of the Americana format, and we made a record, and it's coming out in January.
Oh, that's exciting. Come on, let's buzz that.
So the way
Very excited.
the way we got our names was I was trying to describe these young bluegrass guys that were playing with us, and I said to somebody, they are like of Herculean talent, as you know the word, right?
Yes.
And then somewhere down the road, I went, oh, that's a good idea, the Herculeons.
I love it.
So in honor of Leon Russell, our late friend.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And so describe what the kind of music it is. Or can you?
It's we call it Appalachian soul.
Oh, interesting.
That's what we call it.
I like it.
Andrea plays fiddle and sings like a bird, and
Yeah,
I play
she does
electric
sing like a
bass
bird.
and sing. And we made the record with some really amazing people: Greg Morrow on the drums, Reese Winans on the keyboards, Daryl Scott on everything else.
Oh, wow.
Our friend Tom Britt. And it was produced by my old friend, not old, my dear friend Wendy Waldman. So
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that's what that is. And then in the meantime, I put out a bluegrass record. It's just John Cowan, but the title of the record is called Fiction.
I
Ooh.
heard that song. That's a beautiful song. Did you write that song?
I did.
It's beautiful.
I wrote it with the producer, Eddie Sanders. We wrote it. The record has 10 songs on it. We wrote 6 together.
Wow.
Wow, that's fabulous.
We also cut a Sean Camp song.
Oh,
Of course, I had to do a Paul McCartney song,
yes. Which one did you pick?
Coming Up.
Oh,
And I had to do this. I've been wanting to sing this song now since 1967, which is Riding Along on a Carousel by the Hollies.
Oh.
So we cut that. And are there any other, 2 other things that I didn't write? Anyways, so that's this record. And it's out. It's coming out in January. There's already been 2 singles out that have done really well.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
so do you ever sleep?
No.
Well, I'm just like my mother lived to be 104 and a half years old.
Wowza.
Wow.
And I'm afraid, but not in a bad way, that one of the traits, perhaps it's DNA, I don't know. One of the secrets to her long life was that she stayed busy all the time.
I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Our mom is like that. She's going to outlive all of us.
Yep.
Yeah. She'll work you under the table. I mean, she'll come over. Oh, I noticed your bushes and your shrubs need trimming. Come on out. Like,
My mom worked at a nursing home for almost 30 years.
wow.
But then when she retired, she went back as a volunteer.
That's fabulous.
And
Oh my
she's-
gosh.
And she actually passed away in that same place. And a very sweet story about that, because she had been there so long and so many people knew her there. The day she passed away, when they came with a stretcher and put her on it. But it was really interesting because as she was leaving the building, people lined up in the halls and applauded.
Wow.
I'll never
That's
forget that.
beautiful.
Yeah, it was so amazing.
Yeah, that's a life well lived.
So I don't know how to relax. I know how to relax. But I don't know how not to be not busy. So, but that's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
It is a good thing.
We subscribe to that.
We
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. I find that fun.
Right, Andy?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. So when you're writing a song, John,
Yes,
where does your inspiration come from? Or how do you like to write a song?
it depends if it's a co-write. Sometimes we do the Nashville thing, which is we sit down in chairs facing each other, and somebody throws out an idea, and hopefully it evolves from that point. A lot of times, I guess you would call it. It's not poetry. It's more like dialoguing. I'll write things, and I won't be so concerned with rhyme and stuff like that as I'm trying to just. It's just the idea of putting what's going on in your head down on a piece of paper. I guess you might call it journaling in a way.
Yeah.
And then I take that. I've done that with Daryl Scott a couple times, where I just took rough ideas and sent them to him, and then he will come back a lot of times with the almost finished product.
Really?
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
I'm lucky that the people I've been able to work with a lot of them are just master songwriters, and I'm just lucky that I get to tag along.
It's fabulous.
Well, seeing as how this is a gear show,
I was just going to say that.
we might have some gear questions for you.
So, you know what that means?
What, Julie?
It's time. Let's talk gear.
Yay!
There's usually a bomb that goes off.
Yes. That'll be at the edit.
Yeah.
So besides being an amazing singer, songwriter, you're also a pretty fantastic bass player.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Let's. Sorry.
It's okay.
Got to give the people what they want.
Andy, I know you're dying to ask him some gear questions.
I know.
That's
Because
some
Come on,
questions.
Andy.
All right, it's coming.
Bring
right.
it, Andy.
bring it
I'll try
in.
not
What
to
is
answer in
your-
monosyllables. Go ahead.
You're all right. I got that part covered. What's your present electric bass of choice to use?
I am playing these basses that are made right here in Spring Hill, Tennessee,
Right on.
by a gentleman named John Scott, and they're called Bluesman Vintage.
Oh yeah.
So
I've
they're
heard
kind of
those.
knockoffs of Fenders,
Right.
but that's kind of an impolite way to say it. It's what is it? It's a tribute, really, to Leo Fender.
Inspiration.
And I used so there's a wood out there now called Paulownia wood.
Yeah, real light. Wait.
Super light,
Right.
super sturdy, but super light. And it's funny because I met these guys last week. I went to meet with them at John Scott's place in Spring Hill, and these are the guys that are harvesting this wood, and they have a farm in Georgia.
Oh wow.
So I got to hear all about Paulownia wood, and it was fascinating, honestly. But basically, it's a Fender jazz style bass, and one I have four of them. One's a precision, one is a jazz style bass, and they're all from the Paulownia wood, which makes them super lightweight. And it does not affect the sound in any negative way that I can tell.
Yeah. 4-string, 5-string.
I'm
both?
a 4-string
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. That's
Now I have a bass that I tuned down to D. So it's tuned in D.
right.
So that's about halfway.
You mean just
That's
down a
about
whole
half-
step, the whole thing?
Yeah, the whole thing is
okay.
a whole step down. So it's, there's no C and B in there, which you get from a 5-string, but
Right.
who the heck needs that?
That's right. That's right.
I know.
Real men don't play 5-strings.
I know some bass players who feel that way.
I totally get it. I understand.
We talked a little bit about the inners or whatever you call
We
those.
use Jerry Harvey ears. He's out of Florida, I believe. But they're molded ears.
Right.
So you go in and they put wax in your ears and they make a mold of the interior of your ear canal, and then they put these in these. They're ear monitors that are inserted into your ears, and they sound. It's unbelievable to me because think about the size of an ear monitor. Is it this big? Maybe the tip of your little finger.
Right?
Yeah.
And the bass sounds massive in it. And
Wow.
I don't really understand it. But it does.
I have never tried them. And I always feel like, even in recording, I always have to have one ear off. Like, I don't know why, but I guess that's why I never really wanted to try them, and probably price, but just not having my ears open.
You like the ambience of having one ear off.
Yeah. So I don't know, like, if that would make a difference or not, but
I find for vocals that they're like super helpful.
I would think that would be
You don't
awesome
have to
for
push and
vocals.
strain so much because you know what it's like if you're using monitor wedges.
It's awful.
With your speakers for those that are the
Yeah.
unenlightened. So if you're using monitor wedges, that can be a complete nightmare.
Yes, these two know
Yeah.
because I am not shy when it sounds like crap. And
Right.
it just makes it hard because I oversing
Of course.
or if
Or
just
you can't hear pitch.
correct,
Yeah.
you
or
can't.
you yell at the sound man nicely, but I can't hear. I can't hear. My
Although you
mandolin
were
sounds
very
like
well
crap.
behaved on the last show, Deb.
I did. I said, is there going to be reverb?
Please.
So I was on the road with someone, and I was the last person that was going to get in ears. They had got it for everybody, and so I think Mark Chestnut was on the bill, and he was trying to get rid of his, and so our monitor guy looked at his, and then they looked at my ear, and they go, "Oh yeah, those will fit. We'll take those." And I was like, "Oh man, why couldn't it be Vince Gill's ears?" So they didn't really fit. Eventually, they got my molds.
And do you like them?
I did like it, especially because I was playing like stereo guitar, and so it's great then.
Yeah, that's nice. You can have a stereo mix,
Right.
if you
That
want
is
it.
cool. Now I have tinnitus starting. So would that be helpful or not helpful?
I think it would be helpful. I think that it would be helpful in that you could adjust the volume the way you want it.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
You could have it as quiet as you want. And you can also compress that to where you can't get in trouble.
See, that's always
As
I
loud
worry
as
about
she
that.
wants.
Yeah.
More me. More me.
That is so cool.
Less
Now-
that other girl.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
No, I actually use a bass cabinet on stage also,
You do.
All right.
even though my ears are plugged up, because you can feel the ambience of it.
You can totally feel
Oh, yeah.
bass. That's
Yeah.
what I love about bass.
I don't really need it, and I could get by without having it, but I like having a little extra oomph in the low end.
Can
What-
we ask what kind of?
No,
Bass
of course, it's a
cabinet?
Galleon Kruger.
Right.
Ooh, I know that name.
Yeah, I've used, everything over the years. It's great. It's just a 410 cabinet but it has, God, it might have 700 or 800 watts,
Oh, wowza.
which you don't need, but it's better to,
Have it.
the less
Headroom,
wattage you
yeah.
have, the more risk there is of overdrive and
Right.
distortion. So the more watts is for a cleaner sound.
We like cleaner sounds. Although I'm getting into the whole distortion thing on my mandolin, so
Could happen.
I do.
There's a new genre.
There is. I'm thinking, why not? Because
Death mandolin.
yes, with a country bluegrass feel. Yeah. So years ago, Andy gave me the slide, or I bought a slide.
I bought you.
You bought me a slide for my mandolin because we went and saw. Was it Chris Knight? We saw Chris Knight. He had a mandolin player who was playing an electric mandolin, and he had a slide on it. And I was like, "Oh man, I gotta have that." Well, apparently there is quite a skill to it, and I did not possess that skill.
You could learn to do it.
I can't ever listen to Sleepwalk without thinking about you playing that. No.
It was good.
It was
Is that
hideous.
the right melody?
Yes, that is it. It was horrific, but it was very comical.
We
and
laughed like
we did laugh. But I do have a couple electric mandolins over there, and I am loving tremolo on my mandolin
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I just went to see Robert Earl Keen play.
Oh.
And my friend Kim Warner, who's from Australia originally, he came over here with a band with his wife, Carol, called the Green Cards.
Oh, yeah.
And he has taken electric mandolin, but he tunes it down a whole octave below.
Oh, interesting.
So it sounds like an electric guitar, and it's just phenomenal. And he's so great at it. So that was kind of interesting to see an electric mandolin tuned down a whole octave,
Yeah.
which brings it into the spectrum of an electric guitar. So, and he did
That's
it.
very
It was
cool.
really cool, everything he did on that.
That is interesting because I have an octave mandolin, but it's acoustic.
Right.
So that is so cool. I'm going to try that. Andy, can I do that on mine?
Sure.
Oh, boy.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be good.
What? Wait.
Or not.
What?
I'll have to audition it for them, though,
It
before
will
they
be
let me bring it on
definitely
stage.
be entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be entertaining.
Yeah.
So, okay, because I got all these strings on the table. Andy gave me a bunch of strings for a Christmas present.
Nice.
I go through a lot of strings when I put strings on my mandolin because I'm not good at it. But what strings do you use on your bass? Do you have one that you really
I
love?
used Diodario for years, but last year I switched to Labella,
Oh,
which
I
is
don't
one
know
of the
that.
older string companies. They've been around, I'm not even sure, perhaps the 30s or 40s.
Oh, wow.
Was it a tone thing, a feel thing that made you
They
change?
have I use flat wound strings, which I never did till about 15 years ago. I grew up in the age of round wound strings with John Entwistle and Chris Squire. And all. That's just what everybody played on bass was a round string, which is like your guitar strings.
Okay.
Wound, right?
Yes.
So flat wounds are unwound, and they have a very distinct sound. Most of the pre-50s, 50s, 60s, even up into the 70s, Motown, Stax, a lot of the R&B players used flat wound strings because that was pretty much what was available at the time. And they have a very distinct kind of a thuddy sound. They don't sustain hardly at all. So it'd almost be like muting your guitar, and that you understand what that sounds like.
That
I
is
think
so
we
cool.
should go sort of flat wound Mando strings. I should
All
have.
right.
Now, you know,
few of
jazz
those.
guitarists play flat wound.
Absolutely.
Flat wound guitar strings.
Yeah.
So are you a fan of jazz as well?
Yes.
All right. Who do you love?
Well, now I don't have. I come from it more from a singer point of view. Some of my favorite singers are Jackie Allen from Chicago and Kurt Elling, who is also from Chicago. But I'm like an over the moon, crazy Frank Sinatra fan.
Me too.
Especially, there's two albums, especially. One is called Wee Small Hours of the Morning, and the other one is called Only the Lonely. They're both concept records. Maybe the first concept records. I don't know. But
Interesting.
and this is with Nelson Riddle writing all the string arrangements. And his singing is just, oh my God. There's some people just, to me, have like a perfect voice.
Oh yeah, I saw a sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
it's okay.
I saw a documentary. We were somewhere, and he was singing with Ella Fitzgerald, and he was jumping up and down when they were singing together because he was so excited. And they sang, I can't even remember they sang a couple of songs together, and she was just looking at him like, what are you doing? It was so beautiful. And they just said he was so over the moon singing with her, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd never seen it before.
she's a perfect singer.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing.
Alison Krauss is a perfect singer.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And when I think so much when I listen to Allison of Frank Sinatra because of their breath control, their technique, which I don't think they're sitting there thinking about technique. I think it's a gift. But they have managed through their craftsmanship and hard work to take this beautiful gift and refine it to a point that's just unnerving.
Well, and the emotion that comes through their singing is when I was younger listening to, and I loved jazz music and classical music. And that's why I didn't have a single I bought as a kid because I didn't listen to popular music. I was weird. But as I've gotten older, listening back to some of those records, the amount of emotion that comes from just a certain word, how they say it, is just amazing. I mean, it really blows my mind sometimes, especially Frank Sinatra. Growing up as a kid, I really didn't see him really as a jazz singer because that wasn't really the person I was listening to. But as I've gotten older and listening back to his music, like he really is. Like he really was quite an amazing jazz artist.
He was. Now, I don't know how the jazz world perceived that. I think he was such a huge star. I don't know if they embraced him or not.
I don't think so.
Probably not. I don't know. Now, I didn't get that stuff. It's funny because my dad was a singer. He was not a professional singer.
Your dad was a singer?
Only in church, and he also did barbershop quartet.
Oh, wow.
But he loved Andy Williams, and he loved Bing Crosby.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if he was a Sinatra guy or not. I don't remember him talking about that. Anyways, but jazz is, I mean, we could go on. Betty Carter, John Hendricks, that's like opera. It's like, where do you start? Where do you end? There's so many people that have dedicated their lives and their livelihood to that style of music, and it's so amazing to me. Sometimes I wonder, how do you teach that? And I don't mean that in the literal sense. I mean conceptually. Because what's so tricky about voice is there's no frets.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's no strings. It's coming from inside of your body.
Yeah.
You can't go, put your finger here. And then, you know what I'm saying? So it's really mystical to me, human voice, and how it operates, and how these two little muscles that go like this create sound. How does that turn into Mavis Staples or Van Morrison or Steve Perry? I don't know. How does that even happen?
I know.
It's mystical, and it has to be spiritual for me.
I think it
I
is.
totally agree, especially when I've had to have my voice, the scope down there. I've had some vocal issues through the years. And just to see what that actually looks like and see it, it's weird.
Yeah.
I know.
And it's so little. You think about, like, as a kid, I thought vocal cords like a piano. It's like all these chords in there. And it's just so interesting the amount of notes that a voice can make, especially if you listen to like Indian rogs and things like that, all the little notes they can get in between that maybe a piano obviously cannot get into. And just how does it do that?
Well, and then what is the determinant of who sings soprano, who sings baritone, who sings bass, who sings tenor? my understanding is it has to do with the shape of the resonance of that part of your back of your throat and also your larynx.
I think you are correct. And maybe somebody was telling me that men's vocal cords are thicker, which allows them to sing a little lower, but that's not all men. Like you can sing super duper high.
And it resonates in your body in different places. Oh, I can feel, just put my hand on my chest. I can feel that right there. Oh, now, ooh, ooh. That's all coming from this, which is called the diphthong. I don't want to get too technical.
I know what a diphthong is.
That's what it is.
Well, I had a voice teacher who studied with Gerald Arthur here in Nashville for a lot of years. And he would say all these things. Well, imagine that it's coming from your left sinus cavity. I'm like, what? And then you would sing and you could almost like you really couldn't sing from there, but it would fix those little placement things. And, and he would just kind of laugh. He was an opera singer. And so he would just kind of giggle. He's like, I know, it's magic.
See, this is Chicks with Gear, and we're talking about gear. It just happens to be the human
That's right.
The human face.
Yes.
And what's so funny is as through the years I've had to get things fixed inside there. And recently I've been at the Vanderbilt Voice Center. Woo-hoo. Shout out to you guys. You guys are amazing. And so I had to have this surgery quite a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that was an incision on my neck. So I have this scar tissue that's constantly squishing down in there. And so it started, I didn't know this was what was happening. I thought I had damaged my vocal cords. And they're like, no, it's just all your voice muscles. They're little muscles. They're not doing the job anymore. Like your neck muscles are trying to take over. And so just knowing that, I mean, like, how does that even happen? But, just kind of working through it, it's allowing me to sing again because I was having some major issues, but they said it's, your body learns to do stuff that your other parts of your body can't do because it's injured, and all of a sudden other things try to help, but then that helps.
That's exactly what I'm going through.
Oh,
right
really?
Now. It's called vocal muscle dysphonia.
That's what I have. High five.
Sort of.
I know.
I mean, it's really weird.
But it's healable.
I'm working with a vocal therapist as well. So.
Oh, it's
And
amazing.
this is the third time it's happened to me.
Really?
First time was 2006. Second time was pandemic, and then about not quite 6 weeks ago, I woke up one morning and my voice was gone.
Wow.
So I've been a client at Vanderbilt Voice.
Okay. Maybe we know the same people.
So is Dr. Garrett?
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And Lydia does work.
And the weird part about dysphonia is they don't know how you get it, and they don't know how to get rid of it.
Yeah.
It either gets better or it doesn't.
It's so weird too, because she does the whole thing. Like one of the things, like I was saying to her, I mean, I've been singing a long time and I've studied voice, and I did not realize that I was not singing up here. I was all in here. And that's it would be like all of a sudden I'd be talking or singing, it'd be fine. And then all of a sudden it would be like somebody was grabbing me in there and there was no way to control it.
I'll show you. I'll give you an example. So here's my range. It used to be 4 octaves. La 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 la. It stops right there.
Yes. Mine's lower though. It's for me. It's like 2 notes. It's
when you go down.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird.
Yeah. Like I can hit all my high notes. I can actually, now that I've been working on it, I can even go higher than I used to be able to go. And some of my lower notes are lower because I've been working with them. But there's a couple little notes right in. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it to them sometimes. I'm trying to explain it.
But it's the same thing because they took pictures.
Yeah.
Exactly what you're talking about. It's like, it's not your larynx.
Yeah.
It's the muscles around it that are completely tight.
Yes.
Did you have surgery on the back of your neck or the side?
A neck dissection. I had thyroid cancer. So they took all my lymph nodes out. So it went from here down to here. And so they're now working on the muscles. So I go see their PT people and they work on the muscles. I have to do all these exercises. But it's just like if I don't do the exercise, if it literally feels like a monster is grabbing me in the neck.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But it's okay. I can sing again though. We did our big Christmas show a couple weeks ago, and Christmas songs, John, they're high and they're hard.
I just did a benefit in Asheville for the flood victims.
Oh,
and But I just played bass all night. I didn't sing a word, which was like,
Is that
for me,
hard?
it was like,
Killer.
I mean, thank God I like to play the bass.
Well, these two, when I went through the surgery, I couldn't sing for quite a while. So we would come over here, and I mean, these two humans are my two favorite humans, and literally would come over here every Saturday. I mean, this is kind of where how this all kind of came out of. And I couldn't sing, so we would just play, and we started learning gypsy music. And so it gave me like this whole other thing to think about, and I became like a massive fan of gypsy music because of these two. And then eventually I could start to sing, but it's really hard when you sing not to be able to sing. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
I actually had a dream 2 nights ago that I could sing, and I was just like really singing great. So I'm hoping that is.
It's a sign. It's coming
Hopefully.
back.
How long have you been working with them this time?
I've had 2 voice therapy lessons.
Oh, so you're going to get fixed.
I hope so.
No,
I came back the other 2 times without explanation.
Oh, interesting.
But I'm older now, so I don't know.
I have confidence because I've been doing this now, 3 months with them? And I was very worried because it just, when I was talking, it would be weird. And I couldn't control it sometimes when I was singing. And we did, an hour and a half straight?
Yeah.
And I had no problems.
Good
And
for you.
before, so I'm going to pray for you because
Yeah.
we got to have that beautiful voice back.
Yes.
And I know you're in the most amazing hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I got you. It's worrisome.
Yeah, I can't even talk about it. It's too terrifying.
Yeah. Well, you're with the right people.
Yeah.
Shazam! We are back.
We are back.
Here to
Aren't
take
we
a
back?
We are back.
Well, John, we want to hear about your upcoming shows. We're pretty excited about it. We're going to come.
The Herculeons, which is myself, Andrea Zonn, Jody Nardone, Andy Peak, Paul Kramer, and Tom Britt, will be playing at 3rd and Lindsley in February and also in March. And then I'll be back on the road with the Doobies this summer, starting in early May.
Wow, that's
through
exciting.
early November.
So if somebody wanted to catch up with all your deets, how would they find you?
JohnCowan.com or John Cowan Music on Facebook, which is also linked to my Instagram page. And that's it.
That's
All
awesome.
right. Well, I have to say, I am so honored that you came here. And I've
Us
got
too.
this little secret to
Me
tell you.
too.
So when we decided to do this, Chicks with Gear, we had to start creating our social media accounts. And so I just went and followed a whole bunch of people. You're the first person I followed. And then you followed us on Chicks with Gear. You were our first follower. So I called these guys. I'm like,
the John Cowan? Are you
I
sure?
said, John Cowan just followed us. And then after I reached out to you and you said you would do this, I said, maybe it's fake. Maybe it's not really him. And we're going to have a total stranger show up to the house.
Wait, he said yes? Come on.
I know. So seriously, big fans.
Yes.
So
Huge
excited
fans. Yeah.
to meet you, get to know you a little bit.
Thank
And
you all for your time today.
Thank you. Well,
I
yes.
just looking, stalking you on the internet today, just trying to, learn some things. I'm amazed at how much stuff you've done. And
I know.
It's,
I'm a blessed
this has been
person.
great.
Yeah.
It's an amazing career and it's still going.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Well, we love to do a little cheers
Yes.
to you
Oh, yes.
and Merry Christmas to you
Oh,
and your
yes.
family.
Yerba mate.
Yerba mate
Never mind.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Here you go, Andy.
to 2025.
Oh, yeah. Total world dominance.
That's good, isn't it?
Yes.
I've
Sparkling.
never had it.
It's good.
I love it so much. Although
Guayaki.
I didn't realize it has as much sugar as it has. And I was drinking them all the time. Like, whoa.
Don't ruin it.
Does it have caffeine in it?
I think so.
I hope so.
It feels like it. And it's only 100 calories. It's most.
This one says only 45. So mine is different flavor, I guess. The sparkling grapefruit
Mine's
ginger.
100.
Yeah. Cranberry pomegranate.
Yours is grapefruit ginger ale.
Yes, good.
Anything ginger ale. Ingest.
Yes.
They say
Very
ginger's
good.
very good. And turmeric.
Ah,
For the arthritis people, I have arthritis in my hands. And I'm always
good old
loading up.
Advil.
You know, if we throw enough names out here, you might get sponsorship.
Hey, that would be good. Well, on that note,
Brought to you by Kiaki Yerba Mate.
That's right.
or Magic Mind.
Or Diodaro's Kings.
Well, on that note, sad to
Yes.
say, that's all we have for today. Don't forget to like, share, and thank you so much for tuning in.
Hey, and if you have any questions or things you'd like us to talk about, comment below.
And until next time,
Don't you worry about it.